Good morning, everyone. It's Katrina from the Alluring Bead Boutique, and I'm back today to continue on with my Mastering Techniques tutorials, and we're working on flat herringbone right now. But before I start, I want to quickly update you on where I stand with reaching my watch time hours by February 20th. I need 4,000 hours, and currently I have 3,160. So that leaves me needing another 840. So I've been asking for your guys' help. If you can, as much as you can, go over to my channel and go through my playlist. Play as much of those as you can for me. You don't have to watch them. I mean, you can turn the volume down or whatever, but please help me out. I'm trying to keep my ability to monetize my videos so that I can make a little bit of money back towards what it costs me for beads and threads and time and other things that it takes for me to do my YouTube channel. All right, so having said all that, now I really want to give a big shout out and a thank you to everyone who's been helping me so far. I started out needing 1,105 hours when I first posted about this last week, and I'm down to 840, so that's a really good start. Just help me out, guys, please, I'm begging. All right, so let's move on. So yesterday, or a few days ago, depending on when I get this uploaded, I did a quick video that demonstrates how to start herringbone stitch, and it starts out with ladder stitch. Now, if you're not familiar with ladder stitch, you can go over to my basic technique tutorial for ladder stitch, or check out some other videos out here on YouTube. Just basically, you need to know how to do ladder. And in my video, I show you guys how to do the 2-bead ladder stitch, which is what I'm going to use for this tutorial today. And I've already created a 2-bead ladder that is 10 beads wide. So I've come across and added 2 beads 10 times. All right, so that is how I'm going to start today's tutorial. And today we're going to talk about how to create pattern when you're doing herringbone stitch. And so the beads I have out here are just, believe it or not, these are these little Walmart seed beads. They're cousin brand. They're dirt cheap, but they're really pretty. And, you know, I have a bunch of these, and I never get to use them much. But for herringbone stitch, I find out that they look so good in herringbone stitch. So a lot of times I try to use my little cheap beads. And so that's what I'm going to be using today. And I have a silver line gold and a silver line teal. And for you get like 40 grams of these seed beads for less than $2. Anyhow, so I've got some dumped out here, and I'm going to show you guys how you would go about making this particular pattern. So I made this piece yesterday after I did the other tutorial. And that's just one cute little pattern, and I'm going to show it to you really quick. So I've did my 10 rows of my 2-bead ladder. Then I weaved myself back across to where I am exiting the top here, and my tail thread is coming out of the bottom of the same set of beads. And I'm going to go ahead and flip my work over, and I'm going to work from left to right because I'm left-handed. So to make this particular pattern, I started out by picking up a gold bead and then a teal bead. I'm exiting here out of the bead on the far left. I'm going to pass down through just the top bead, working towards the right, and the next set of my base beads. And I'm going to pull those into position. Then I'm going to step up through the top bead on the next set of my base. And when I pull, I want to make sure that my thread sucks up between the beads down here at the bottom and the second set of gold beads right there. And so I'm going to pull it right in, just like that. And now I need to pick up my next set of beads, which for this pattern is I'm going to pick up a teal bead and then a gold bead. And when you're working with these cheap seed beads, what you have to do is you have to eyeball as you go along and cull out any weird or misshapen beads. So now I'm going to pass my needle down through the top bead of my next base row beads. That's in column 4. And now I can step up through the base row beads on the top of column 5. And you can see this matches up to my first part of my pattern. So now I'm going to pick up 2 of my teal beads. And doing this right here will get you in the habit of not only mastering your technique with herringbone, but also will teach you a little bit about how you can change up your color pattern. So now I'm going to pick up my 2 teal beads. I'm exiting the top of this bead on column 5. I'm going to pass down through the top bead of column 6. Pull those beads in. And if you have to give them a little wiggle to make them sit like they should, go ahead and do that. Then pass up through the next top bead on column 7. And now I'm going to repeat my original pattern. So I'm going to pick up a gold and then a teal. Pass down through the next top bead on column 8. Pull them through. Step up one last time on column 9, the top bead. That bead's a little bit tight. Just like that. And then I'll pick up a teal and then a gold to complete the pattern. And pass down through the top bead here on the last column. Pull my beads. And for this particular pattern, I did my turnaround and step up like I did on the first part of the other video. I'm going to pass back up through that top gold bead on column 9. Pull my string through. And so now I've stepped up through this bead, and now I need to step up through the bead on the end, on the row I just added. So that's the gold bead. And when I pull, I'm going to make sure that my thread does not hang up on the bottom of my beadwork, and that it sucks up into the intersection here between the beads, like that. Then I'm going to flip my work, and so I'm ready to make my next row. So now when we're an easy way to remember how you want to pick up your beads when you're working in a pattern where the stripes run long ways, such as in this one. You're going to pick up the color of the bead that you're coming out of first. And for your second bead, you'll pick up the color that you're going into. So I'm coming out of gold, and I pick that up. I'm going into teal, and I pick that up. Then I pass down just the teal bead in my next column over. Pull my beads into position, and then step up through the previous row bead on column 3, which in this case is the teal. So now I'm coming out of teal. I'm going to pick that up first. I'm going into gold, so I'll pick that up next. And I'll take my stitch down through the gold bead on column 4. Pull my beads down into position and step up into column 5. Now I'm coming out of a teal bead and going into a teal bead this time. So I will pick up a teal and then another teal. Pass down through the bead on column 6. Position my beads so that they sit like a nice in their little inverted V shape. Then I'm going to pass up through that bead on column 7, which is gold. So now I'm coming out of gold. I'll pick that up first. And I'm going into teal, so I'll pick that up second. And I come down through the teal bead here on column 8. And pull. Situate my beads. Step up through my bead on column 9. So now I'm coming out of teal. I'll pick that up, and I'm going into the gold bead on my last column. So I pick up gold last and pass down through the gold bead. Situate my beads, which it can be a little tough to hold on to them when the beadwork is just a few rows long. So now I'm going to step up. So I'm coming out of this bead on the previous row, the gold bead here. I'm going to step up through the bead right next door, which is the teal bead. If I can get in there. So I'm stepping up through the teal bead on the previous row in column 9. I'm going to pull my thread so that it doesn't get hung on the beadwork, and it sucks up into that little intersection, just like that. And then I'm going to step up into the last bead I just added here on the outside row, outside column. And pull my thread. And now I'm ready to add my next row. So let's work with another row. And then we'll talk about this, the length of this piece of work. So now I'm coming out of gold, and I'm going into teal. So I pick up gold and then teal. And I take my stitch into the next column. Situate my beads. Then do my step up into the next column. Making sure my tail thread doesn't get hung up. So now I'm coming out of teal. I'm going to pick that up first, and I'm going into gold. So I pick that up next. And I pass down through the gold bead on the 4th column. Heading in my new direction. I've got to step up into the 5th column. So now I'm coming out of teal and going into teal, so I just pick up 2 teals. You know, take my stitch down through the teal bead on the 6th column. Pull my beads in position and step up through the gold bead on column 7. So once again, I'm coming out of gold, so I'll pick that up first, and I'm going into teal, so I'll pick that up second. And I'll pass down the teal bead here on my column 8. Pull my thread, position my beads, step up into column 9. And for my last stitch, I'm coming out of teal, pick that up first, and I'm going into gold. So I'm going to pick that up last. And I'm going to pass down through the gold bead here on the outside column, which is column 10. I'm going to position my beads, and I'm going to step up for my next row. So I'm going to come up the teal bead on the previous row in column 9, pull that thread in, and then step up into my last row I just added and the last bead I just added, which is this gold bead on column 10. Now I'm ready to flip my work and continue on. So let's talk about what we need to do to continue on. So on this particular piece, which I'm trying to make a copy of, I started out with these beads on my base row, which is 2 beads high. Then I did 16 rows of herringbone stitch with the teal beads in my pattern. So I've already gotten 3 done. So that means I need to do 13 more rows. And then I'm going to stop adding my pattern and come back in and add these last beads up here and ladder stitch them together so that the ends match. So what we're going to do, I'm going to do 1 more row with you guys of the pattern. And then I'm going to put you guys on hold, or you can go ahead and work until you have your 16 rows of pattern done, and then meet me back and I'll show you guys how to end this off and how to end your thread. But let's go ahead and do 1 more row of the pattern. I'm coming out of gold and I'm going into teal. So I pick up a gold, then a teal, and I come down through the bead in the next column. I step up through the next bead in column 3. This time I'm coming out of teal and going into gold, so I'll pick up a teal and then a gold. And I'm going to pass down through this gold bead here on column 4. I'm going to finesse my beadwork, and step up through the next bead on column 5. This time I'm coming out of teal and going into teal, so I pick up 2 teal. I'm going to pass down through the bead on column 6, position my beads, step up through the next bead on column 7, which is gold. Now I'm coming out of gold, so I'll pick that up first. And I'm going into a teal, so I pick that up second. And I pass down through the teal bead on column 8, position my beads, and pass up through the bead on column 9. Now I'm coming out of teal, so I'm going to pick that up. I'm going into gold, so I'm going to pick that up. I'm going down through the last bead on this particular previous row here, which is this gold bead on the outside edge, and pull my beads into position. One more time on the step up to add your next row. You are coming out of this second bead down here on your outside column. You want to pass up through the bead right next to it on the previous column, which is column 9. And now to get to the outside edge, you're going to pass up through this very top bead on column 10. You can pull your thread into position. Then you flip your work and continue on. So I've got 4 rows of my pattern. I've got 12 more to do, and I'll meet you guys back and we'll talk about how to tie off and complete these last rows here and how to weave them together so it looks the same on both ends. Alright folks, so here I am back, and I have gotten my pattern portion of my beadwork done. So now I want to show you how to create this end so that it is a mirror image of the beginning base rows that we started from. So in order to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to just be using our gold beads, because that's what we use down here. And we're going to pick up enough beads to make the mimic of the 2-bead ladder for each stitch. So I'm going to start by picking up 4 of my gold beads. So I've already done my step up here on from my last row, and I'm exiting the top of this gold bead. I've picked up my 4 gold beads onto my needle, and I'm going to stitch down through the very next bead on the next column, just like we're doing herringbone stitch. Only we're using 4 beads at a time instead of 2. So then I'm going to step up through the bead on my next column, and I'm going to pick up 4 more of my gold seed beads, and I'm going to repeat this step, adding these 4 beads on each stitch until I've worked all the way across. So I'm going to go down the next column, the top bead of the next column, and I'm going to step up into my 5th column, picking up my 4, and taking this next stitch into column 6, and so forth. Make sure that you get 4 beads each time. And you still want the beads to sit looking similar to herringbone, just like the inverted V shape. And let me pick up my last 4. And now I'll take my last stitch down into the top bead of the last column. Now, this time when I do my step up, I'm exiting the 3rd bead down. So I'm going to step up through that teal bead on the 9th column right beside it, just like normal. And then I'm going to step up through the 2 gold beads that I just added here on the outside of my last column. So now I've stepped up. So let me flip my work so I can show you closely what we're going to do. So now we're going to use ladder stitch to connect these sets of 4 beads that we just added in this row. So we don't need to add any beads now. So I'm coming out just like I would normally be starting a row. coming out of the top of this bead on column 1. I'm going to pass my needle down through both of those gold beads in column 2 and pull. I'm going to come back up through both of the beads on column 1 and pull. And I'm creating a little thread bridge on the bottom of those 2 beads, those 2 sections of beads. So now I can come right back down through the 2 beads here on column 2. And now I'm going to connect these 2 beads to the next 2 beads on column 3. So I'm going to pass up through both of those beads, gold beads on column 3. I'm getting a little bit of a glare. Try moving off with my lamp a little. Okay. So now I'm coming out of the top of the 2 beads on column 3. I'm going to come down through those 2 beads on column 2 again, creating a thread bridge at the top. Then I'm going to come back up those beads on column 3 one more time to get into position and create the thread bridge at the bottom. All right, so now I've got to create a thread bridge at the bottom between columns 3 and 4. So come down the 2 beads on column 4, just the top 2. Go back up the 2 beads on column 3, and then come down the 2 beads on column 4 one more time. So as you can see, we're stitching our beads together just like the ladder stitch that we did down here. Only we already have our beads in place, so we don't have to pick up any. So now we're going to work on column 5. So stitch up those 2 beads. Come back down the 2 on column 4 to create the thread bridge at the top. And we're going to go back up and create that thread bridge at the bottom. And we can move on to column 6. We're going to come down the 2 beads on column 6. And on these beads, we just need to create this thread bridge at the bottom. So go back up the 2 beads on column 5. And we have to get back into position so we can work on this gap here between these sets of beads. So come back down those 2 beads on column 6. Now we're going to go up the 2 beads on column 7. We need a thread bridge at the top here between 7 and 6. So go back down the 2 beads on column 6. And then up your beads on column 7, both beads. You want to make sure you don't skip any beads or you'll wind up with some exposed thread showing on your beadwork. And so I'm just going to go ahead and create the bridge at the bottom between 7 and 8. So I go down the 2 beads on column 7, or excuse me, on column 8, up the 2 beads on column 7, creating my thread bridge there. But now I have to go back down those beads on column 8 so I can work on the last 2 columns of beads here. So now I need to come up my 2 beads on column 9. And now I need to create a bridge here at the top. So come back down the 2 on your 8th column. Then go back up the 2 on that 9th column. So now I just need a thread bridge at the bottom between columns 9 and 10. So I just come down the 2 beads on my last column. And go up the 2 beads once again on the 9th column and pull. And so now the 2 sets of beads here look identical to the sets of beads down here. So now I need to end my thread. So it's going to be really easy from here. I'm just going to take my needle and I'll go down through all of these beads on this last column. And I'm going to make sure that I'm not skipping any beads by looking at my work this way and flipping my work this way. And I don't see any needle where I'm skipping a bead. So I know I'm safe to pull it all the way through. And this can serve to straighten up your work just a little bit more, but do not pull too tightly or you're going to kink your work and pull it into a bow like that. So you don't want that to happen. So now I'm going to make myself a knot, but before I do that, I'm going to make a circle around with this thread. So I'm exiting this last bead here on this column. I'm going to come down the 2 beads on the column right next door and come right back out those last 2 beads on that column one more time. And what that does is that secures my threads a little bit so that when I tie up myself some overhand knots here, I'm not running the risk of bowing up my work and making that knot too tight and pull all the way, down from the top of the beadwork to the bottom. So now I was able to tie 2 little overhand knots, and my work did not bow up. It still lays nice and flat and looks really pretty. So now, in order to cut my thread, I'll need to move away from my knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass right back up 2 beads on the column on the outside edge where I'm working. And I'm going to draw my knot up inside those beads. And I can feel it snug inside the beads. So then I'm going to move down 1 bead on the next column over. Pull my thread into the intersection, nice like that. And then I can end both of my threads. You can use scissors or a thread burner, whichever you prefer. My scissors need sharpening. So here I have my 2 pieces. And I can, use these as a design element for creating a bracelet. You can use them for a pair of earrings. That's just a pattern. I just wanted to show you guys how you would think about working a pattern in the herringbone stitch. And the easiest way is to, remember to pick up the first bead you pick up is the color you're exiting. The next bead you pick up is the color you're entering, until you've gotten the full portion of pattern created that you desire. All right, so that's it for today. I want to thank you guys for watching. First of all, I want to thank everyone who's out there helping me to get my watch time hours. Please do any amount of time that you can helping me get my minutes up so that I can keep my advertising ability here on YouTube. Head on over to the Alluring Bead Boutique. I am in the middle of creating my PDFs for the basic herringbone stitch technique, and it's going to be a little more inclusive. It will include elements from all of the basics that we cover. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you next time.